Hello and welcome to this edition of Wineskins. I'm Father Jim Corda. Wineskins is a program that features reflections on the lives of the saints and the sacred scriptures, along with a variety of issues and topics, all from a Catholic perspective. Wineskins is brought to you through the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. On our program today, I will interview Monsignor Anthony Spinoza from the Shrine of Our Lady of Lebanon. This is the third and final part of our series called Spotlight. We will also hear more information on the life and times of St. Rose of Lima. And today, as the Church celebrates the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time, we will get a deeper insight into those particular Sunday readings. That and more on Wineskins. Catholic Charities is an important part of the life of the Church and her members. To share an important issue with us is Rachel Herbelich.
There is a saying among Catholic Charities organizations throughout the United States that goes like this: if you've seen one Catholic Charities agency, you've seen one Catholic Charities agency. This quip refers to the fact that Catholic Charities extends a variety of different services throughout the country to meet specific local needs. While our collective missions may be related, the services we offer to meet those missions might vary from county to county, region to region, and state to state. Each Catholic Charities agency is unique in spite of the fact that our challenges to help an ever-increasing number of people, secure funding for our work, and raise awareness about who we are and who we help are very similar. The same can be said for the women, men, children, and families who come to Catholic Charities with their own individual histories and life situations. Although they are unique, our clients face many of the same challenges as others throughout the country who are desperate to find a job with a livable wage, put food on the table for their children, and keep a roof over their heads. The purpose of Catholic Charities is to provide help by meeting their immediate needs and to create hope that the crisis situation that they are in at the present time can change, that things can get better, that they can round a corner from darkness to light. When Eric came to Catholic Charities with his own unique situation, we were able to provide help he needed right then and secure a sense of hope that encouraged him to begin thinking about his future. Eric is the father of 2 girls, ages 10 months and 3 years. He called Catholic Charities for assistance with diapers and other items for his daughters, and made an appointment with one of our caseworkers, Meredith. Eric explained to Meredith that his wife was placed in an out-of-state jail a few weeks ago, forcing him to step up into the full-time parent role. He was feeling overwhelmed and exhausted trying to keep up with 2 very active little girls. There were no grandparents or other relatives to help Eric. Although he had always been a part of his daughters' lives, Eric was not used to the round-the-clock caregiving he now had to provide. Meredith provided diapers, formula for the baby, some clothing for the older girl, and moral support for Eric. She assured him that he was doing just fine. Meredith continued to meet with Eric and called him every few days to see how things were going. It didn't take long for Eric to settle into his new role. He was extremely goal-driven and would do anything in order to provide for his daughters. Eric took advantage of any available resources in the community to help him, and, according to Meredith, grew in his motivation to succeed as a parent. By going the extra mile to reassure Eric and support him as a father, Meredith provided more than just diapers, formula, and clothing. She provided a sense of hope for Eric. That hope was enough to sustain Eric through the rough days, and, eventually, elevate him to a better place emotionally. Catholic Charities also provided help and hope for Fred and Grace. Wheelchair-bound and diabetic, Fred called Catholic Charities in tears because he and his wife, Grace, were homeless. Grace had lost her job, and when they couldn't pay the rent, they were evicted. Fred's disability supplements were paying for a motel, but the money was running out. They would soon be out on the street. To make matters worse, Fred's medications were running low, and he was desperate for help. Catholic Charities swung into action, helping out with the first and last month's rent, as well as the security deposit on an affordable apartment. Catholic Charities provided referral sources to help Fred and Grace furnish their new apartment with donated goods. Catholic Charities also connected Fred with medical care and helped the couple apply for SNAP or food stamp benefits. Now in a stable situation, Fred and Grace are more hopeful about the future. Grace is in the process now of looking for a job. Eric's story and Fred and Grace's story are each unique. However, help and hope were provided to stabilize both of their situations and create a sense of optimism. In both stories, a corner had been turned. The role of Catholic Charities is to walk with our clients to the corner, and sometimes even after the turn, to make sure that they are ready to confidently walk on their own to face whatever tomorrow might bring. So while no two Catholic Charities agencies are alike, and certainly no two clients are alike, our mission gets accomplished one way, by providing help and hope. It's as simple as that. Regardless of whether you are in a Catholic Charities field office in Washington State or in a Catholic Charities homeless shelter somewhere in New England, you can be sure the help you receive will be coupled with a dose of hope to help you round the corner from darkness to light. For Wineskins, I'm Rachel Herbelich.
St. Rose of Lima was a virgin. To tell us more is Bobby Bankovich. She is from St. Paul Church in North Canton.
The first canonized saint of the New World died in Lima, Peru on August 24, 1617. She was canonized by Pope Clement X in 1671 and proclaimed patroness of the Americas, the Philippines, and the West Indies. Her feast is celebrated on this date because August 24th is the feast of the Apostle Bartholomew. Born of humble Spanish parents, she was baptized as Isabel Flores y de Oliva, but because of her radiant beauty as an infant, was given the name of Rose. She received the sacrament of confirmation from Saint Turribius, Archbishop of Lima. 3 other contemporaries of Rose are also saints: the Dominican Saint Martin de Porres and Saint John Machias, and the Franciscan Saint Francis Solano. Rose refused to marry, but became a Dominican tertiary, and as was the custom at that time, she wore the Dominican habit. In 1623, she was instrumental in making the foundation of the first monastery of cloistered nuns in Lima, dedicated to St. Catherine of Siena. With the help of her brother Ferdinand, she built a small hermitage in the family garden, and there she spent most of her life. It was a life dedicated to penances that were so severe that they are incomprehensible to us today. Her mystical experiences and charismatic gifts were similar to those of another Dominican tertiary, St. Catherine of Siena. But she also had to endure violent diabolical attacks and temptations. She experienced what is called the mystical espousal, at which time Jesus said to her, "Rose of my heart, be my spouse." When she died in 1671 at the age of 31, the entire city venerated her as a saint. The opening prayer of the Mass gives us, in one sentence, the spirituality of this patroness of the Americas. God our Father, for love of you, Saint Rose gave up everything to devote herself to a life of penance. She had made a vow of virginity early in life so that she could devote herself to prayer and penance. At the same time, however, she performed works of charity for the sick and the poor. Our petition in the opening prayer is that we may imitate her selfless way of life. So selfless was her love that she desired ardently to evangelize the Indians, some of whom were very savage. "If I were not a woman," she said, "I would devote myself entirely to the evangelization of the Indians." She serves well as a patroness of the Americas, giving an example of love for all the races. She likewise reminds us, as we see in the Office of Readings, "Let all men know that grace comes after tribulation. Let them know that without the burden of afflictions, it is impossible to reach the height of grace. This is the only true stairway to paradise, and without the cross, they can find no road to climb to heaven. For Wineskins, I'm Bobby Bankovich.
We're talking with Monsignor Anthony Spinoza of the Basilica and National Shrine of Our Lady of Lebanon. We would be remiss, and I'm glad you reminded me, about the wonderful religious community that's present there at the shrine, and that is the Antonine Sisters. We've had them here at CTNY on many occasions. They've been part of our vocation series. We're trying to help promote their new facilities there. Tell us about the Antonines, a little bit about their charism, and what exactly is going on in their life and community near the shrine.
Originally, the Antonine Sisters were contemplative until 1950, and then they began an active apostolate. They came to the United States, to Cleveland, to our parish in Cleveland in the late 1950s, and then came to the Youngstown area, I believe probably around 1961 or so. And at that time, the old farmhouse was available by the shrine, so they took up residence there, and a number of years later, our bishop gave them 10 acres of land plus the house because they wanted to remain here. And little by little, they developed their adult daycare, and now they just completed their assisted living and memory care facility. So they're independent from us, but we're next to each other, so we don't consider ourselves separate at all. It's one family there, and they do wonderful work with the elderly.
You know, that's part of their charism, is not only ministering to the elderly spiritually, but in particular physically as well, because many of the sisters, if not all of them, are registered nurses. And so there's that wonderful ministry that they provide as consecrated religious to our elderly. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the new facility that they just completed. What is so crucial about religious life that we want to lift up here? Not only consecrated religious life and as sisters, but also as brothers and priests. Why is that important in the life of our church today?
People take example from the way we live. And if people get a sense that the priests or the religious are not happy, they are not going to be happy. And it doesn't foster vocations. Vocations really come from happy clergy and religious. And the nice thing with the sisters, they're always in a good mood. And people notice that. Even with a lot of our priests, we do receive vocations from the parishes, because I would say for the most part, our priests are rather happy. And it affects the lives of the people, especially the young people who might be discerning a vocation.
I'd like to talk about that a little bit further in Lebanon. For example, what would vocations be like in the country there? We know here in the United States, we're experiencing the fewer priests and fewer religious coming forward and responding to the call. What's happening in Lebanon?
Well, they still seem to have a good number of vocations. I believe it's kind of slowed down a little bit, but they still have the vocations there, but obviously they need them to minister to their own people. So it's not always easy to ask them to come to other countries, especially when the need in their own country is great. But here in the United States, we have to take fostering native vocations very seriously. The history of the church, whenever it's been a missionary church, knows that when you go to another country, your time as a foreign missionary is very limited. Right. And then you have to have your own vocations from that country. It can't go on indefinitely with just the missionaries. So right now they're doing rather well with vocations, but you never know when that could change.
Sure. This might be a rather ignorant question on my part, but would you have Maronite churches on all continents of the globe?
Just about. They're all over the place now. Our bishops just came back from Lebanon. They had a synod because they were electing a bishop for Venezuela. We have a diocese in Mexico City. There's one in Brazil. I believe there's one in Argentina, Australia, Canada. Now they have parishes in South Africa. There are even Maronites in Sweden. I don't know how they ever got to Sweden, but They're all over the place now. It's not just a Middle Eastern phenomenon. They're universal at this point.
Well, what's beautiful about the faith is that it kind of goes where we go. And so if Maronite Catholics go to Sweden, obviously a congregation will burgeon there. And so that's really the beauty of the faith, that it continues to grow and expand. What do you find most gratifying in your position at the shrine as the rector there of the Basilica? What do you enjoy doing on a daily basis?
I just like to visit with people a lot. They will come in, they will just talk. Sometimes they come in with difficulties. It's important just to be around the shrine when people kind of come and go. Unlike a parish where you have people making appointments, it doesn't really happen that way at the shrine. It just happens spontaneously. And especially on weekends or on a Sunday when the weather is good, I try not to leave the property because people are just coming all the time and you don't know who they are. You don't know what their situation is. And in a moment of grace, you might be able to help them. And that's what's important.
What would be some of the challenges that lie ahead for the Basilica, for the shrine, and maybe for you and the congregation of the Antonines that are there in North Jackson?
Well, since the shrine is not a parish church, it's always a financial challenge. We don't have the kind of like the infrastructure of an X number of parishioners and parish councils and finance committees. It just doesn't work that way. But God is good. I mean, He takes care of us, and we don't have a lot of money to spend, but just when things get a little difficult, something works out well. It's just a different type of ministry. In a sense, it's less structured, and that's what's really very, very nice about it. There's a latitude that you have that sometimes parishes cannot do because they have to maintain a certain program and schedule.
Could you give us the phone number again and the website if folks would like to contact the shrine?
The phone number is 330-538-3351, and the website is OurLadyOfLebanonShrine.com.
Well, Monsignor Anthony Spinoza, it was a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
We thank you for the great work you're doing out at the Basilica and the National Shrine. It's been part of our local diocese for 50 years. We certainly rejoice and celebrate that anniversary with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us. Have a good day, and God be with you. For more pertinent information and to listen to Wineskins, visit www.doi.org, the website of the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. As in past elections, the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown has provided opportunities to help voters meet their duties as faithful citizens. Information is always provided through the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops. On September 21st, the Diocese of Youngstown will provide 2 opportunities for all faithful citizens to gather at St. Michael Church in Canfield from 1 to 4 in the afternoon, or at St. Michael Church in Canton from 6 to 9 in the evening. Bishop George Murray of the Diocese of Youngstown and Jim Tobin, the Social Concerns Associate Director for the Catholic Conference of Ohio, will speak. For more information, contact the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown at 330-744-8451, extension 302. The Diocese of Youngstown is seeking qualified candidates for the Parish Leader Formation Program. The program will train current deacons, religious men and women, and laymen and women to become certified parish leaders, making them eligible to apply for parish leader openings in the future. Applicants to the Parish Leader Formation Program will be screened and interviewed. Please contact Pete Schaefer at 330-744-8451. Our song today is from the CD called Engadi Live, the Memphis Concert. It is by sacred musician John Engadi.
Baptize you in the name of the Father. I baptize you in the name of the Son. I baptize you with the Holy Spirit. Go out and spread good news. I send you out.
I send you out
On a mission of love. I send you out.
I send you out
On a mission of love. I send you out.
I send you out
On a mission of love. I know that I am with you always until the end of the world.
Well, it's time for us to become people with spirit. It's time for us to become people of love. It's time for us to know that Jesus Christ is risen, forgives our sins and brings us new life. I send you out.
I send you out
On a mission of love. I send you out.
I send you out
On a mission of love. I send you out.
I send you out
On a mission of love. I know that I am with you always until the end of the world. I send you out. On a mission of love. I send you out. On a mission of love. I send you out. On a mission of love. I know that I am with you always until the end of the world. I send you out. On a mission of love. I send you out. On a mission of love. I send you out. On a mission of love. I know that I am with you always until the end of the world. I know that I am with you always until the end of the world. God bless. Thank you very much. Kelly Jones, Kirk Smothers, Grady Gambrell, Ronald Turner, Kevin Page, Terrence Clark, Doug McMahon, Mark Clark, Beth Page, Meredith Dean Joseph, Koya Coleman, Mike O'Brien. God love you. I'm John Angotti. God bless.
As we celebrate this 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time, we will hear more about the sacred scriptures by Father Terry Hazel. He is pastor of St. Michael Church in Canfield.
Today we celebrate the 21st Sunday in the ordinary time of our church year. Procrastination is one of America's favorite pastimes. More time is spent in putting off until tomorrow what we really should be doing today than in actually doing it. It almost becomes a standard joke as people brag about getting out of this or that or waiting until a better day. Never do today what can be put off until tomorrow. Sometimes, however, we put things off too long, and suddenly it's not funny at all. Sometimes we procrastinate until it's too late, and then the only thing left is regret. The joke is over. Very often, at the death of a friend or loved one, you hear people remarking that they wish they had spent more time with the deceased, but now it's too late. Very often, before a marriage breaks up, You hear people express regrets that they didn't do things differently, but now it's too late. Very often, after a humiliating loss on a football field, you hear the coach or the players saying, "If only," but now it's too late. Perhaps the saddest words in the English language are, "If I only had," because these words are spoken after it's too late. The epitome of procrastination has to be in regards to our relationship with God, because an "if only" here is the ultimate regret and the final too late. Every day people say or think, "I really should try to improve my life. I really should try to improve my spiritual life. I really should try to improve my relationship with God. I really should try to go to Mass more often or to confession more often. I really should try to be more generous with people, especially the poor." Our gospel today warns us that we certainly should, before it is too late. Procrastination in the spiritual life is definitely an evil thing. The gospel tells us, "After the master of the house has arisen and locked the door, then you will stand outside knocking and saying, 'Lord, open the door for us.' He will say in reply, 'I do not know where you are from.'" In other words, he will say, "It is too late." It is easy to procrastinate, and it's difficult not to. Today, we should resolve to make a real effort to discipline ourselves to wipe procrastination out of our lives. If you have been putting off something, do it today before it's too late. How about telling your husband or wife you love them? Or visiting an aged mother or father? Visiting a marriage counselor? Apologizing to a friend? Hugging your child? Making the phone call that is long overdue? Improving your spiritual life? Going to confession? Do it before it's too late. In conclusion, over and over we hear the words, "if only." I'll bet God hears these words at the gate of his kingdom as well. For Wineskins, this is Father Terry Hazel.
The question in today's gospel that is put to Jesus is this: will those who are saved be few? Jesus didn't get involved in the numbers game. Instead, he pointed people to salvation in him through his death and resurrection. Do we point others to Christ by our lives? Wineskins is a production of CTNY, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of Youngstown. It is brought to you by the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. I'm your host, Father Jim Corda, wishing you a beautiful week.